Hello, hello. Welcome to Human Design Coffee Talk. I hope you guys can hear me because I'm using an AirPod. Is that what they're called? Yeah, AirPod. I keep wanting to call them iPods. Teresa's going to be joining me. There she is. Hello, hello. Spontaneous live today. Hello, hello. Trying to accept Teresa's thing. Let's see if it works. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh. Got your AirPod in?
I got an AirPod in. Yeah. I do.
What's up, everybody?
Hello, hello.
It's been a minute since we've gone live.
Yeah, it has. Hello. What? I just tried to cross my legs in my chair and I grabbed my phone cord. Struggle is real, y'all. Isn't struggle in the transits right now?
There's so many channels in the transits.
I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot.
Hey, Carla, Kiara, Lael, Tracy. What's up, everybody? I'm excited.
I know, right? This live is brought to you by my morning emoting session.
Dude, it has been so entertaining for me to watch y'all experience my everyday life.
It's just been interesting for me. And I was telling this to Teresa because I was just like crying about a whole bunch of random shit. And all of you undefined emotionals out there know, like, we don't just cry. You know, we're pretty good at like not crying. Actually, we need to cry. We probably should cry more. And I was just crying over all this stupid shit. So I've been doing this thing where I do 10 push-ups a day, just 10 push-ups a day, not trying to increase it, not trying to have a goal with anything. And I realized I'd been forgetting to do my push-ups. I saw somebody doing push-ups on TikTok and I just started like bawling. And I'm like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? So I was messaging Teresa and just some other things I've been crying about this morning and feeling really like my only purpose is to like lay in my bed. But how I've had 55 hooked up to my 39 for a little bit and I haven't really been feeling much different. Now that 39 swung in the transit, I have 39, but it's foreign. So that's what I was telling Teresa. I'm like, it's a foreign 39. So now I feel it in a completely different way. And it's pretty wild to witness.
Yeah, I feel like the biggest thing people have been messaging me about is crying over like small things, things that you wouldn't expect to cry over. And so that's why I said to Brandy, I'm like, remember when I literally cried over spilt milk?
Yeah.
I was telling her I was grocery shopping one day and I had this intense craving for this fancy chocolate milk that comes in a glass container. And I'm carrying in my groceries, carrying in too many bags at once, because that's what I always do, right? I can make it in one trip.
Mm-hmm.
And the freaking glass chocolate milk falls out and I just start, I walk inside and my husband Thomas is like, are you okay? What's going on? I'm like, I spilled milk. And that's just such a good example, at least of the way I experience emoting, is anything small can set it off if the wave is exactly in that spot of needing to release in that way. And I'm sitting there like giving him this sob story of like, I was really craving that and it was expensive and da, da, da. You know, and my mind is trying to come up with all these reasons as to why I'm crying, when in reality it just needed to move, and that was the thing that set it off. I made a post about it yesterday. It almost happened 2 days ago. I was doing laundry and my husband had left his hamper. He has like a big hamper in the way, and I ran into it and I have a huge bruise on my thigh now, and he's watching TV and I run into it and I look at him and I'm like, And you know that feeling where, you know, when you watch a 2-year-old and they hurt themselves and you're looking at them and they're looking at you and you're like, are they going to cry? So that was exactly what happened. I'm looking at him and I'm like, I can feel my mind wanting to freak out on him. Be like, you're fucking hamper. I hurt myself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't leave it out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just started laughing. And it was like the emotions just ended up moving through laughter for whatever reason, because in the past I did used to freak out on him over shit like that if the wave was there. And I had this awareness of, it's not his fault. It was just in the way. You weren't paying attention. This energy just needs to move. And I just started laughing.
Yeah. And like being able to communicate that with the person that you're around, like this thing that I feel rising up inside of me to freak out, absolutely lose my mind about, has nothing to do with you like being in the world. It's just happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be really easy to project those emotions onto another
Mm-hmm.
person. And
Mm-hmm.
admittedly, that's what I've struggled with the most with my emotional solar plexus, is
Mm-hmm.
wanting to blame somebody for it and not having the awareness that, yes, this may be because of this person in a way, like there is feelings around this situation, right? It's not just chemistry, it's relational.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm responsible for my feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this morning when I was doom scrolling because I have no purpose in life today. And I came across this TikTok with this woman that had 10 kids, and I was just like, I'm supposed to have 10 kids. And I'm like, we got like 27, 28 in the nodes. I have 27, 50, like maternal, this 39, 55 making me cry, all this shit. And I'm just like, I was telling Teresa, she's like, you don't want that. I'm like, I know, my mind is telling me that I want that, because I was like, then I was getting emotional because I thrive on chaos or crisis and struggle, and there's no other, like having 10 kids, you just constantly probably have crisis and struggle, and then I'm like, it's fucked up that I thrive on that, and I'm just like going through all these, like crying about everything.
Dude, I swear it's such medicine for me to have other people tell me about their experiences with this channel, because there are times I think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm like, is this really me? Is this me consistently to experience this wild wave?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then just not being attached, like being able to literally like watch yourself and be like, look at all these stories that my mind is telling me because of the way that I'm moving feelings through my body. You know, it was just like, it's a fucking trip.
Yeah, the mind really does try to latch on to a story around it and a reason for it.
Yeah. So just listen to your podcast about second lines. It was so freaking good. It was so freaking good, Teresa.
Thank you. That was one that I was sitting on for like 2 weeks or something, and for some reason I was scared to post it. So it's ironic, of course. It's like such a vulnerable episode, and talking about second lines and vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Like an open wound, like you're showing everybody.
Dude, really just embracing that as a second line it is the path. It is the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Teresa's podcast, it's Be a Lion. It's really good. You can find it, I know, on Spotify. What about Apple?
Yeah, I think it's everywhere. I'm having Juji on this week to talk about cults. So
yeah,
I'm excited.
Curious about Brandy's right ankle cross of tension with this emoting transit. Like everybody, you know, I just see my cross play out, but I often feel like a big fuck you to human design for my design. That's what I'm feeling right now. It makes me want to cry about it. Like,
wait, tell me more about that. What's coming up?
I'm literally about to cry. You guys get to witness it in action. Like, me, why me? Why do I have to have like such a strong, why am I crying about this? It's okay.
It's okay.
I even put mascara on because I was like, I'm gonna try not to cry. Um,
Thinking.
just to have like such a strong, provocative design. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of fucked up. But watching my cross play out, I noticed that actually, like when 3955 is in the or when 55 is hooked up to my transit, and I have cross of tension, I noticed that I'm actually softer and I'm more received. And I think that 55 really helps me out with that, you know? So then I'm like, why can't I have that all the time?
Oh no. You're perfect as you are.
I know, but like it's, yeah, woo. But I'm noticing like my interactions with people are very, they're just softer. Like that provocation that comes through, the tension doesn't feel so thick. It's just like there and it serves a purpose. Instead of like almost, I feel like I fight with it sometimes. Or I'm just like resentful of it because I feel like it pushes people away.
Oh.
But then I know that if it pushes them away, they're going to go do their thing. And then a lot of times people will come back to me and be like, that thing you said that kind of provoked me. It was actually like really good for me. And, you know.
Do you feel like it's not so much perceived as softer from others, but more from yourself because
from myself.
You have the emotional capacity to.
Yeah. It feels like, yeah, it's definitely, it probably comes out the same to the other, but for me, it feels more comfortable.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. 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 And now I'm done crying. What?
Yeah. Something like emoting, I mean, it has so many flavors, but for me, a lot of times it's this like burst, this fast burst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does. I know sometimes, and I don't know if we've talked about this on here, but like I can't even like remember all the details, but with my husband where I could feel it come up, and then I just knew that I had to communicate right away that this is what, like, explaining the mechanics without using too much human design terms, but just like, here's what's going on, but I feel like I need to, and I just need to do this, and I need you to allow me to express myself and not take it personal, but I'm going to direct it towards you because that's what I need to do to move this. You know, it was just this very intense, hot and fast thing.
How did he receive that?
Good, great. He was like, I can get down with that, you know, because before when I didn't understand what was going on, it would just be like, yeah. Well, and I grew up with a channel of emoting mom, and my sister has 39. My sister's cross of tension also. So my household was pretty interesting growing up. And so my sister's a reflector. So we were always like on my mom's roller coaster of emoting, you know? And she has 3740. So it's just a very interesting dynamic at home. I felt really comfortable, and I thought that's how people expressed, was hot and quick, you know? So when I would do it, I would think it was normal, and it wasn't, you know, for me. It wasn't actually how I was designed to express. I've learned a lot about parenting from that perspective too, like not parenting in a hot and quick way, and knowing that I was conditioned to parent that way because of my mom's channel of emoting.
Have you watched how Weston receives your emotional energy differently if you're doing it your way, true to yourself versus the conditioning?
Yeah, we get along easier. You know, it's easier for him to allow me to be me and me to allow him to be him. I mean, we still butt heads about things, but it's a lot
Yeah.
There's more compassion there, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think I've talked about this on here before, but I want to bring it up again. Like, just because it's a real life example, like in the mornings, my mom would wake me up and her channel of emoting would wake me up, you know? And like, she'd literally squirt me with a squirt gun because I didn't want to get up because I was a bear in the morning, right? And so she'd like open my door and squirt me with a squirt gun and then, well, it's time to go, you know, just this kind of frenetic energy and very just like quick and short and hot. And so I started to recognize when Weston was going to school that I would do that. And then I devised a plan to wake him up without being in aura. He has an Amazon Alexa, and I just wake him up. I just get on my phone and call his Amazon Alexa and wake him up through that. So we're not in aura, because I noticed that if I go in and some part of me connects with him, and if I'm feeling provocative that morning, I'll just be like, time to get up, you know, and if he, or I'll say it's time to get up, and then he'll be a bear, and then I will start to react. And then I'll look around at his room and be like, your room's a fucking mess. I'm taking away your tablet. And it has nothing to do with waking up in the morning, you know? Like, I'm like, that's not healthy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to watch these things and see and kind of gauge the health of the relationships that I have with other people and really see where my conditioning kind of plays into that.
Mm-hmm.
But my son's defined emotional with 1949.
Is he ever? He's such a quintessential 1949. I love it.
He is. Crazy.
He calls me yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, Teresa, can you manifest for me? And I was like, for you, anything. I will move mountains for you, so yes. Something about that kid.
He's like, here's what I need.
Yeah, he's like, I want to be on the gold team with this teacher next semester. I'm like, I got you. I'm going to put that out there into the universe. And then I'm like, have you been cultivating what it would feel like in your body to be in that class on that team? And he's like, yes, I've been doing that a lot. Like, good. Visualize it happening.
He just hears, like, you know, he hears the sprinkles of human design mechanical talk in our house. And he's like, okay, Mom, so you're a manifesting generator, which means you can manifest in some ways. Here's what I need you to do. And I was like, cool. Okay. Yeah, got it. And then like 2 minutes later, he's in the kitchen and I hear him be like, hey, bestie. And I hear Teresa's voice and I'm like, are you calling Teresa? Like, yes, I need everybody who's a manifesting generator to do this for me. This is what I need. I have these needs. They need to be met so that I can meet the needs of everybody.
He's so fucking cute. And he always takes care of me when I come. He's like, do you want tea? Do you need squishmallows?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So cute.
So, Teresa, do you want to talk about growing up with 3955?
Yeah, you know, I was just talking about this yesterday, and somebody had asked about 3740 in the comments as well. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we can go into that since both of my parents have that. Mm-hmm. You know, I was a really intense child, as you can imagine, like having these random bouts of emotional expression where it's, I would imagine, unexpected for my parents when it just comes out of nowhere over something small, and it can feel really intense. And they both have 3740 as their only wave. So the 3740 is a ratchet wave. So it's almost like taking steps up. It builds. And so their emotional expression would be really big as well, but not as often as mine. And they would almost have this period of time where it felt like they were growing resentful, and then would have a big expression because they were probably holding it in or whatever. And so as a child on the receiving end of that, it would feel like I did something small and then they lose it over something. And all of this emotional energy would come out. And I remember it really scaring me because it felt really different than my natural emotional expression. Mm-hmm. And it always felt like it was my fault, even though they were really good about going back and saying, actually, that wasn't your fault. You know, I just was having an emotional experience or whatever. And I'm super grateful to have parents that are, you know, they've both been into meditation for a really long time. My dad's a psychologist. They're pretty self-aware, but you know, no parents are perfect. And there were times where I internalized that it was my fault. That being said, it would feel like when they were having an emotional experience that there was no room for mine. And so that's where I learned, oh, I don't have space to emote. I don't have space to express myself. And I feel like as a teenager, all of that anger that I felt from not having space just came out, you know, as it does. I feel like most of us were pretty angry teenagers, but my dad had to take my door off my room because I would slam it so many times. And I remember anger just being like a predominant thing that I would experience. But yeah, it's wild thinking back to when I was like little, and I just remember, I remember experiencing the highs too, like so vividly, and just being so silly and goofy, and like getting my whole family to be like silly and goofy too, because my high was just infecting everybody. And I still notice that too. Like I'm kind of the jester of my family. Like I make the jokes and get everybody like giggling and cutting the tension and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's funny like thinking back to how I was when I was little, and I'm moving more towards that now, watching myself come full circle.
That's healing.
It is. And now it's cool because I can talk to my parents about this stuff. And like I said, I'm super fortunate with my parents. They are really open to talking about my childhood and whatever I'm processing, and not taking, I mean, I'm sure they take it personally at times, but I think I'm good at communicating to them. Like, I'm not blaming you for this. It's just healing for me to talk about it and to hear your perspective too, because obviously my memory is super skewed to like that of a child.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I don't remember things exactly as they happened. You know, but there's been even times where my mom's brought up things and been like, oh, when you were really little, you were like 2 years old, this happened, I felt so bad, I still think about it. Like she just holds on to that guilt. And I'm like, no, you don't need to be blaming yourself about it. It's fine. So I feel like it's just nice that we can talk about those things as adults.
Yeah, we're very fortunate. I can do the same with my mom. I can sense though that she does. At first she had a hard time with like me expressing these things because we all have our perception of how the things happened. And so when you know, when I would share like, here's how it happened, and from my perspective, she would get kind of defensive. But now it's a lot easier to talk to her about those things, you know, without her feeling like she gaslights me or anything like that. Yeah.
So fascinating how the defined emotional and solar plexus make the emotions extra expressive. Yeah, my mom's a projector, and I feel like sometimes she would seem like she had the biggest emotions in the family. She's only a projector. But I also wonder if, because she's pretty open, she only has 2 channels in her design, so I wonder if she's amplifying all of us. You know, my dad and I are both heavily defined. So
as a projector, my emo low, I get pretty lethargic. My husband's an emotional projector, and I can say, yeah, I see that in him as well.
Yeah, I've been talking to my mom about that lately because she's known about design pretty much ever since I started learning about it, but didn't really get curious about it until this last year, I would say. And she likes listening to Roz lectures and is pretty into it now. But she'll come to me and be like, so yeah, this projector thing, like, is this why I get tired? And I'm like, yeah. And how do you notice your emotional lows? And she's like, yeah, I find that I just don't want to get out of bed. And I'm like, yeah, just let yourself stay. You're tired. Like, let yourself stay in bed. You know, you can do whatever you want. That conditioning runs deep though, you know? But yeah,
Yeah.
because I get tired when I'm processing emotion. So imagine if you're a non-sacral, that's exhausting.
Yeah. And that's, I know you've said this before, but I wish the transits were set up sometimes to where we could feel what it was like to be non-sacral. You know?
I know.
Teresa and I are so defined that it's like we get head definition. We're like, whoa, you know, she gets ego definition. I'll get solar plexus definition. But like everything outside of that, we have no idea.
I know. I was talking to this emotional projector named Will yesterday. Um, and he was saying, well, he was just telling me about like some connection he had with somebody else that it was like a 5 and 4 connection. And I was like, whoa, I will never experience a less than 7 and 2 connection.
Mm-hmm.
And then he asked, that's interesting. I've never thought about how people will only experience certain kinds of connections. And then asked if I generally get along with most people for that reason. Because think about it, there's no connection that I'll ever have with somebody that's like 6 and 3, better to be free, or 5 and 4. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, wow, I wonder if that's why sometimes there is an aversion to conflict for me, because it's not, even though it's in my design to have a conflict and crisis and whatnot, I generally do get along with most people.
Yeah, I think I do too. Except I'm also noticing where I've just gotten along to people please, but that's my definition.
There's obviously more layers to that, but I'm like, well, that just could be a layer of it. Is like, it's kind of foreign for me because I do get along with most people.
Yeah.
Almost 9 and 0 with everyone. So almost everyone's obsessed with you. Like when you like are 9 and 0 with somebody, you're just
Yeah. My husband and I are 9 and 0, so we just have to be aware of other people when we're together. Except when Teresa's around me, I have to be aware that I have a husband.
It's the opposite.
Because we're 8 and 1, have some fun. I'm like, let's have some fun. Yeah. I'd love to hear anybody in the comments, anything you have to say. If you have channel emoting, what you witnessed, anything you want to give us to respond to. Carla mostly has 8 and 1. Yeah. I don't understand what the numbers that you're saying mean. They are gates in human design, or like the numbers like 8 and 1. Is that what you're talking about? Or 9 and 0? Those are like how many centers, like when you like hook up with somebody or like you're in auras, how many centers are defined with your circuitry together, like a connection chart. And even within that connection chart, there's like educational channels, compromised channels, dominant channels, things like that. And you can see that like if you have genetic matrix or Maya mechanics, you can look at connection charts. You can see people in your life, like what your connection's like. My 6-year-old's been wilding out since this 39 in the transit.
Nick's been telling me all the stories of 6-year-old. Just making me laugh. I'm sorry.
Yeah. How do you support a 3955 when they're going through their low?
I would say the best thing is to let them express and don't make them wrong for having that experience. When my parents did have the capacity to do that, because they didn't always, but when they did have the capacity to do that, I just remember feeling like very seen and loved, especially coming out of it, because in it you just feel like you can't see the forest from the trees and nothing makes sense. You know, this feeling of people, this is what I'm seeing a lot of people talk about, is like, I'm bored, I'm frustrated, I'm sad, all at once. You know, what's the meaning of life? All of these things at once. And so it can be really confusing to be in that space. And it's also, it's very fickle. So it can be like flip-flopping a lot back and forth. I would also encourage them to express creatively, artistically. My mom is an artist and always encouraged me to draw my feelings out or write my feelings out or paint or something. And I feel like from a young age that really helped me, because I find that that's what I reach for now, is ways of creative expression to help, like writing poetry in my notes app or writing a song or painting or anything like that.
It's so interesting when you say that. I have like this intense ugh in my body, like writing and poetry. I'm like, that's how I know this is not natural for me. I'm like,
I was talking to somebody about 2027 that had like survival view and all of these like survival things. And I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm scared for 2027 because I'm designed for crying and creating art. Like, I'm not designed for survival.
uh-huh. As a person who has lots of people in their life that have 3955s, two of my closest friends, Teresa and another one, Haley, they have 3955. And the best thing that I can do for them is to let them express, like Teresa said, and not make them wrong and not make anything that they're saying like the truth. And just how Teresa received me this morning when I was sending her the most random fucking text messages about what I was emotional about. And she was just like, it's all good. Like, it's fine. Cry if you need to. Like, just like allowing me to be me in that moment. And I often tell Teresa, like, I forget she has 3955 because she rides that wave so gracefully, that I see polarity in people in my life with, you know, the different expressions of 3955, and just being able to recognize that everybody is unique and not everyone with 3955 is going to need the same thing from you and express the same way, and just like rolling with their wave and not taking it personal, and, you know, whatever might come up, just being there to support them in their expression.
Yeah, because obviously nothing in our design is independent, so all of my design is working together, and same for everybody else.
Just going back through some of these comments. Are you saying the more centers you have defined, the more likely it is to not get along with people?
No. I mean, I don't know, but what this person I was talking to was asking me to reflect on was, do I generally get along with most people? Because 7 and 2 means work to do. So if you have 7 centers defined with somebody and 2 centers open when your charts come together, generally there's work to do in that connection. And to me, those connections just feel like they're not as easy, and there's more conflict and compromising. There's more of an edge to it where we're having to kind of find how we fit together, and we miscommunicate a lot more. I notice, like, we're having to talk things out and be like, that's not what I meant by that. Let's work through that, you know. And with 8 and 1, I mean, Brandy and I's friendship is a perfect example. We just have fun. 8 and 1, have some fun. Not that you can't have conflict in an 8 and 1 connection, but our connection is really easy and playful. Mm-hmm. And then 9 and 0 is nowhere to go. So it kind of means like you're not looking for anything outside of the relationship. It's like all of your centers are filled in. So all of your, it's almost like all your needs are met. I don't think that's the best way to describe it, but Brandy could describe it better since you have it with your husband.
I do, but there is a difference for me when my split is bridged versus all of the centers are defined.
Yeah.
And
there's nuance to that.
Yeah, there's nuance to that, because like I bet my husband gets a little bitter. But I'm like, Teresa's my best friend and you're my husband, and my husband should also be your best friend, but Teresa's like my best friend, and then you're my best friend husband. There's a difference. There's a difference because Teresa bridges my split in 2 places, and so it feels like I'm home in my body. I feel fully connected. Around Andy, I don't feel like I need anything else, but it don't feel that same feeling. Does that make sense?
Well, and Kiara brought up a good point. It can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because think about it. If you have 9 and 0 with somebody, you're not getting to experience other flavors of, kind of like when a triple split is bridged by the same person for too long and they're like, I want to break free. I need more flavors. You know, I would imagine that there's this feeling of maybe you wanting to experience the flavor of another solar plexus.
Yeah.
You know, or him wanting to experience the flavor of another sacral.
And I notice it the most, and it's terrible, with how we parent. If we're 9 and 0, we're like, we don't need our kids.
What?
No, I mean, like.
No, I know.
You know, like.
Just the way that came out was really funny.
I know. We'll be at home, and it's just like, oh, we have kids. Like, you know, they're older. So I'm not saying, like, I'm neglecting my children. They are 16 and 12, so they're, like, self-sustainable things, you know. But it's really like, oh, yeah. And it's extra difficult, I feel, because we share our children with their other parents. And so we have Weston most of the time and Alex 50-50. But she is a quad left, like pure individual channel of initiation, 3-5 MG who wants to do her own thing right now. And so we, like, with this this transition of Alex wanting to do her own thing, and we're like, where did we fuck up? And we didn't fuck up, but at the same time, we're like, we're just kind of like in our own world, and our kids are like part of that on the outside, but it's not like conscious. It's not like we're trying to do that. It's just like when we're home, Weston's doing his triple split thing, talking to all 500 of his friends on FaceTime at different times, you know, because he has to like be connected to so many people. And then like Andy and I are just like chilling, you know. So it's interesting to parent too with that awareness. It's a blessing and a curse, because now I'm like, damn it, there's like literally nothing I can do about it, you know. Not saying we can't, like, if I respond to doing something a different way, I will do it, but I just kind of watch it and I'm like, wow, you know, watching the mechanics play out.
Wow.
So that's a newer awareness of like how I don't know why I want to say the word selfish, but that's what it feels like with 9 and 0 and parenting, being 9 and 0 with your partner. And it's just like, I don't, and we're both very tribal, which is also an interesting like contradiction, right? So we are always making sure they're like provided for and they have everything that they need, but it's almost like, are we just giving them what they need and then being in our own world and giving them what they need and being in our own world? I don't know.
Yeah, because it's also probably interesting, like you said, when you don't have them, when they're at their other parents' houses, because it's like, yeah, you probably really go into your own world. It's like, oh shit, yeah, we have kids. Like,
well, yeah, I mean,
not even around.
No joke. Sometimes it's like I would get dinner, or Alex would be at work, and you know, it's a night that she's at our house, and we'd go get takeout, and I would go get takeout for me and Andy and Weston, and then I would forget about her, and Andy'd be like, you forgot about her, and I'm like, she's at work. She wasn't even like, you know, in my awareness. I don't, you know, like, oops. Or sometimes we'll be like, we'll be getting ready for bed, and I'll be like, shit, Weston's upstairs. I need to go say goodnight to him. Like, that's terrible. But it's just, I mean, I'm just laying it out. This is real life, human design in real life.
Well, and, also,
and it is like,
I was gonna say,
he's in his own world.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, he's in his own rhythm.
Yeah, and he'll swoop us in when it's almost like we also need a break from that, right? If he has 515, it is fucking strong, y'all. It is strong. You have no choice. Like, you want to know about no choice in human design? Come hang out with my child, or just be around him. Like, there's no choice.
I thought you were exaggerating with that for the longest time, because I'd always be like, why does he get his way? Like, why can't you put your foot down? And you're like, I don't know. I just get swept up in it. And then when I come stay with you and I experience that, same thing. That's why I'm like, I will move mountains for that child. Like, he just pulls me into his rhythm, and I'm like, what do you need?
Yes, exactly.
Like, he'll ask me to come upstairs and so I can watch him do something. And I'm like, no, I don't want to walk upstairs. And then 10 minutes later, I find myself up there.
Yeah.
Like, how
Yeah.
did I get up here?
He'll be like, can you come look at this thing that I'm building on Roblox? And I'm like, no. And then he's in the loft area, which we had built because two people in my house are valleys and so acoustic and blah, blah, blah. And he's just like, pop over. And he's always involved in whatever we're doing. Like, I'll be talking to Teresa on the phone and he'll be like, who said that? What's going on? And he's also fourth line, so he wants to be like in on it. Or he'll be like, what did she say? What's Thomas doing? And I'm like, quit it.
Or come down here if you want to be in it.
Yeah, come get. And then he'll be like, no. And I'm like, then stay up there and stay away from it. Get out of it. But he does. He just ropes you in to anything he wants to be doing. It's like we're all doing it then. We're all doing it.
Like getting us to leave the house when it's fucking snowing out.
Yeah.
Because he wants ice cream.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
that's his biggest thing. He'll come downstairs and he'll be like, it's whatever he wants to eat specifically. And he'll be like, guys, let's go to Bebop's. And it's like, no. And then all of a sudden we're driving to Bebop's. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't know. And you know, it's interesting too, from a parenting lens, people can see that as manipulative, right? But like, it's like, it's not, he's not being like talking it up. He'll just like put it out there and like all of a sudden his energy will just grab you and just bring you in to whatever he wants to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What part of his side? I'm talking about 515.
Channel of Rhythm.
Yeah. Has the gate of extremes in it.
It is extreme. And I don't know where I heard this from at some point, but whatever. People with that channel have a big ass aura. Dude. Like you can, when he's up in the loft and we're on the couch, I can feel him. Like even when he's not engaging with us, they're just, even if they're quiet, it's like you can feel their aura.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he like knows it. He'll like announce himself coming down the stairs. You know, like
I love his fashion shows.
He'll just like announce himself, or just like I always know where he's at upstairs too, because like I can just feel him moving around and what he's doing, and his aura is so big I can feel when he's doing something he shouldn't. And it's not just like mother instinct. It's like literally whatever he's doing is like flavoring the house. And I'm like, you know, like last night at like 11:30 at night, I was waiting for my my comforter to dry, and I go upstairs and I was like, I need to go up now. I didn't know if it was done, and I had this feeling, and the bathroom door was shut, and I was like, what are you doing in there? What are you doing? You know, and I opened it up and he's got fucking beads everywhere, and he's gluing beads, CDs, and he's making them for his teachers. And he's like, I have to do this. I can't go to sleep until I'm done with this. And in our household, we heavily lean into people knowing when they need to sleep and when they need to be awake. You know, obviously we have a school schedule. So Weston being just a generator, not just a generator, but versus being an MG, there's like kind of a difference in how we need to go to sleep or how we fall asleep best. And he just needs to like run out of steam. And sometimes that's not till 1 o'clock in the morning. And I don't. And sometimes it's 7 o'clock at night, you know, and he just gets to gauge when he wants to fall asleep. But he always has to wake up at the same time. And the other morning he was like, I woke him up and he goes, Mom, we can't do this schedule anymore. And I was like, well, you have to go to sleep and you have to wake up for school. So it's up to you when those things, you know, when you go to sleep. And he's like, yeah, I just don't think like being up until 1 o'clock is like working anymore. I'm like, I'm glad that you figured that out. So maybe you'll make different choices. I don't know. But whenever he runs out of steam, so he has to be like doing stuff right up until he goes to sleep.
Well, and it makes sense because he's not only a triple split, but also emotional, that it would take him a while to come to that awareness of this routine isn't working for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, and he has his own ass routine. My gosh, it's just a trip. He's going to be a very interesting adult.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. Kimberly just joined, and she has all centers defined. Kimberly, we were just talking about like 9 and 0 and 8 and 1 connections. And so for those of you who don't know about any of that, she has all of her centers defined, which means she's like 9 and 0 with everybody. So I would be curious if you're still on here, Kimberly, if you feel like you get along with everybody pretty easily. It's so refreshing to hear how you honor him as his own person. I've had no choice since he was born to do that. And I didn't even know about human design. It was like he was here to show me how to parent him. And what a trip. Mm-hmm. It was Weston's world. Like the moment he came into the world, it was his world. I'm just living in it. Make sure I'm not missing any. Oh, you are still in here, Kimberly. Good. I'm just scrolling through and making sure I didn't miss any comments. My oldest daughter has 5 and when she's at my house, the living room becomes her bedroom. I have zero choice. Yeah, it's like wherever they want to take up space. Mm-hmm. I know other 515s, and that's what's cool about the nuances of human design. You know, everything goes back. You know, you've got base, tone, all of that. And there's, even if somebody has the same channel, they'll kind of exude similar things, but there's so many nuances, and there's not another 515 that I know that does what my son does.
Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day, just how obviously when we have similarities in our charts, we can find things to relate on, mm-hmm. But there's so many expressions of the same exact channel. Mm-hmm. There's so much nuance, not only within the design mechanically itself, but because of life experience and just mm-hmm. being a unique human. So it's cool to talk about the similarities that we experience, but also then to hear what the different flavors of nuance are too. Yeah.
And I think when we have full channels in the transits, it's a great opportunity to like witness that, mm-hmm. you know, and really practice that compassion and non-judgment and accepting of the differentiation and uniqueness of every single individual.
Yeah.
And you know, especially with something as powerful as emoting in the transits, we can see that people are going to be expressing different and not making them wrong and not making it be like, that's not what emoting is about. And that's not how you do that. And just because it's provocation doesn't mean you provoke people intentionally. It's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Get it.
This is an opportunity for us to really, truly learn how to love ourselves. And we can only do that by accepting other people and the expressions of themselves. Because through that, we can accept ourselves. And so fuck off with any talk about doing anything wrong in human design. Sorry. I'll get off the soapbox.
I love it. I'm like, girl. I have more to say about that, but I wanted to also look at Kimberly's response. I love people so much. Oh, it's so cute. I can really feel that from you, Kimberly. When I met you in person, it was just this like, love for people that was exuding out of you.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to read her comment out loud so people can hear that are maybe watching the replay. Yes, I get along well with most people. And by the way, Kimberly is fully defined, all 9 centers. I love people. I also really notice how I adjust myself to fit for others. That's the only way I really fit with others is adjusting myself. But at the same time, I love people so much. 3740 quad split, 15 in personality earth. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think in class, James had said Kimberly and Brandy and I took the same analyst training with James, and he had said that for somebody with all centers defined, it's going to be more about noticing how your energy affects other people and less about, obviously you take in conditioning still through your open gates, but it's going to be more about noticing like who or how people are affected by your frequency, and can they still be themselves around you, or how does your frequency affect them? It's almost the opposite of a reflector, where you're getting mirrored your frequency back. So I can see why you'd have to feel like you need to shift yourself. Oh.
I would assume too that looking, like pulling up your chart for the first time as a fully defined might be like garner the same reaction as a reflector, like no centers or all centers.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, whoa, I don't know what that means, or showing it to somebody, I don't know what this means, but all of them have colors.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Yeah. And deconditioning through that. Ooh, I have a response to see if she wants to go on Coffee Talk sometime and talk about it.
Ooh, Kimberly.
Do you want to, I was off my soapbox and then you said you wanted to come back to that.
Okay. Yeah, so I was talking about this with some people the last couple of days too, just, you know, finding human design, having it be such a freeing thing to be celebrated for your uniqueness or affirmed for your uniqueness, and being encouraged to differentiate. And then coming into human design, and not all the time and not from everybody, but from some people, being met with this energy of be yourself, but not like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or homogenization within human design. This is how it needs to be expressed. This is how it needs to be talked about, blah, 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 blah. And I've gone through my wave with human design in so many different ways, where at one point I was like very firm with like, this is human design and being a crusader for that. And then I relaxed out of that. And for me, there's more of a curiosity of what's possible within the differentiation versus mentally putting people as this is how it's expressed and like this is what the book says and yada yada. And I think that's what the essence of the system is all about. And of course, you know, it's a system that doesn't need to be messed with much. It's going to continue to evolve and to mutate as people experience it. And I still honor the original keynotes and all of that. But within that, I think there has to be a lot more curiosity and mutual respect for other experimenters. I'll say that.
And yeah, validating, like gaslighting is real everywhere, but validating the experiences of people, you know, in every way. Yeah. Yeah. You know, I came up with some, I don't know if I want to call it imposter syndrome or some hesitation. So Teresa and I last week, we were guests in Joji's Beehive group, and we talked, and she asked me about 2145, and she's a 2145, and like the split second moment was like, what if I don't describe 2145 correctly? And I was like, no, fuck that. I'm just going to talk about my existence and how I feel it, that expresses through me. And our conversation about it was really beautiful because, you know, we have it obviously no gate channel the same, and anybody, no design is exactly the same. And it just felt really good to talk about it and through my experience with it. And I felt validated by her, and I felt like I wasn't saying anything wrong at all.
Farted really loud. I was like, that wasn't me.
Is it Callie?
Yeah, she's old and farty. Yeah. Anyways, go on. I fucked up your whole.
No. I'm just saying, like, it just felt really good. And I felt like I got to connect with that frequency anchor of here's what it feels like to express myself and feel received and not question what is coming out of my mouth. And not try to make it about human design, but truly just here's my experience in life. Here's how I relate what I'm experiencing in life to my definition. Here's how I see it playing out for me. And nobody can tell me that's wrong.
Yes. And I think that was a testament also to the space that Juju was holding in that moment of inviting that out of you and the openness that that container had, because that's how I felt too. Like it really just felt like all of us sharing about our experiments and being received by one another in that way and not feeling like we were going to be questioned or corrected in that, you know?
Yeah. Not feeling corrected. Yeah. Because how much time do we waste trying to do it right? You know? Like nobody has time for that.
Yeah. I mean, I've been kind of posting a lot more and sharing from a more just free-flowing type of place lately. And the overwhelming majority of people who are DMing me and, you know, complimenting me for that are saying that they've felt afraid to share like that because they don't want people to tell them that they're wrong or their experiences aren't valid. And I felt like that at one point too. And then it was just like, you know what, how the hell are we going to all learn from each other?
Yeah.
How we're going to all just keep reading the same text over and over again. Yes, love the human design books, but we're not going to actually learn about the experiential component of this if we're not sharing about what's really going on in our lives in any way that feels comfortable, of course. But
yeah, I want to share more, but I don't have a response to because I feel really aloof lately. Like I'm like, oh, I want to join in on the sharing of all this shit, and then I like don't. I'm like, that's all right.
That's okay. And see, that's like some people were messaging me too, like, well, I'm not really designed to share that much, and I'm like,
you don't have to.
That's cool.
Yeah.
This is, you know, I'm really speaking to the people that are wanting to share and having that desire to, and like not feeling the pull to because of perfectionism or fear of being received in a certain way or whatever.
Ooh, are you calling me out? Ooh. Maybe you're not intentionally, but
3955 unintentionally provoking.
Ooh, perfectionism.
Oh, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I have that complex hugely, right? I have a, you know, part of my mind tells me that I don't know why I want to say this, like an image to uphold or something, but I also at the same time like, here's what it is. Like I have no capacity to be consistent right now with that, and I feel like it's, and maybe that's like that tribal leader feeling in me is like, if I can't do it consistently, I'm not going to do it right now, because if I can't show up for my tribe the way they need me to, then I can't do it. And also I'm just seriously aloof. Like I just keep pulling back and back and back and back and back more and more, and I'm just like, wow, could I really pull back more? And then I do, and I'm like, damn. Is there, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if there's no actual pull to do it, then that's the truth. Then that's your truth.
Yeah, if I'm not actually, yeah, exactly.
And there doesn't,
but and then I make up words.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be an examination of why don't I want to share or whatever, unless there is a part of you that's like, wait a minute, I want to join in the fun, and then there's another part that's like, don't do it.
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
if that's the self-talk that's going on, I would be curious about that. But if it's genuinely just you do not feel a pull from your body, then that's just what it is, you know?
No. When I get off this roof, watch out. Watch out.
You bitches better watch out.
Bitches better watch out. Is there a connection with 6 lines and perfectionism?
Yep.
And yeah, and that, and try to have like a million first lines in your chart, and 6-line perfectionism, and 4th line with foundation. It's like, yes, he's fucking perfect. and I'm not like a perfectionist, like aesthetically. It's just like the foundation has to be perfect for it to launch off of, and I need to get over that.
I'm curious, this is something I noticed with Six Lines sometimes. Obviously, this is not a generalization about all Six Lines, but my husband's a 3'6", my mom's a 4'6", so whatever. But there's almost this feeling of I can't